That's exactly right. I mean, one of the big things is that, you know, as this gentleman here said, that the time that you get between the product being ready to go and having to be launched is very thin. You don't often get the time to do that, let alone doing the research up front to find out what it is you should be developing. And I've been working in PR for 15 years or so, and the number of times you've seen a product where you say, well, who's the target audience? And it's like, not sure. Consumers. Or everyone, yeah. Well, and this goes to the point here, this is what PR and marketing and publicity looks like right now. It's where's Wally? The approach that people take is to basically go and use publicity dressed up as PR via the press, and they try and find their audience in here. I don't know where he is. I mean, I spent 20 minutes looking and I haven't got a clue where he is. But that's the way that most companies currently try and identify their audience. They send out information saying this is what we've got, hoping that people will come and say, well, actually, I'm a customer. But then, you know, they have their interest at heart, they want to buy, they see it, they're not really going to help you to reach, you know, people like them that are interested. Just to illustrate that as well, the current way of trying to identify an audience, either live when you have a product or to try and do some preliminary groundwork, which is rare. Very few companies actually try and find their audience before they launch products, is to use media, social media now these days. So I did an experiment. You apply the rule of direct marketing to PR, publicity. Start with an audience of 300,000, so some Mashable or TechCrunch, whatever it is. How many people do you think you're actually talking to if you apply the 5% rule that goes with direct marketing or direct email marketing to 300,000? 15,000? Anybody else? Higher, lower? 300. 300, okay. When you start with 300,000, that's the number of people you're actually talking to if you apply the 5% rule. 5% will see it, and again, this is optimistic. 5% on a direct marketing or direct email campaign is good. 5% will see it. 5% will actually click on it, open it, you know, click the link. 5% of those will actually be people, 5% of the people that actually click on it will be people that could potentially be interested. 5% of that 5% will be people that are actually willing to take the next action and find out more information. 5% of that 5% are likely to be in a position to buy should you clear all of the other points. So you're actually talking to 1.5 people in every 300,000. And people wonder why traditional PR or the media-based publicity doesn't work. Trouble is because you've got to make the message broad enough to be relevant to that 300,000, but specific enough to that 1.5 to get across why they should care or why they should be interested. And if you do the marketing research or the PR research, you find out who your audience is ahead of time, then you can actually spend a lot of time, you know, on a larger number than that for a lot less energy and a lot less money. And you can actually tailor what you do to make it specific, to communicate the value to these people. So we said in marketing, 4 Ps: price, product, promotion, and place. Promotion is the only thing that people really talk about. And I would encourage you to go back and look at the other 3 pieces because they're critically important. Once you know who your audience is, do the research, find out where they are physically, whether they're at events like this, where you can actually, you know, the sales guys can talk to them, not to try and sell them stuff, but to actually just find out that we think we've got a product that might be relevant to a problem that you have. Are we correct? If we're correct, what do you want us to develop? Which features, and to your point, sir, which features and functions do you want? Which are the things you're prepared to pay money for? There's a great presentation online. I don't know how many of you know Ryan Halliday. He's a guy who has become a little bit of a celebrity amongst my industry. He's also been the marketing director for American Apparel, but he wrote a book that says, "Trust me, I'm lying." And it's all about how the media, the online media works these days. But he says one of the big things that nobody thinks about when they're looking to launch a product is whether the product is right. People have got it in their head that the product they've developed is the right product, and all they've now got to do is convince everyone else, rather than actually using information from the people that you want to sell it to make sure before you launch it, you've actually got the right product.
How much control over do you have, in specific marketing roles, sometimes you don't have control early on in that scoping up process. What recommendations would you have?
I think that's something that needs addressing inside the organization, and I think it's something that it's a change that needs to happen. I mean, from the development cycle, I think that sales should be involved. I think marketing should be involved. The technical guys need to be involved. And the traditional kind of publicity people and PR people need to be involved as well, because it's all part of being able to ask the questions up front to get the information that you need, because otherwise exactly what happens is what you described. You get presented with something and told, we'll go away and promote this. But actually, had you been involved earlier in the process, you could have found out that there were things that weren't right or things that you need to take into account. I'm working with a guy right now who, when we started, he said, it's complete honesty. You need to be completely upfront with me. I won't be offended. I won't take anything to heart. So the second meeting I had with him, I said, I've been thinking about why you've not been getting the results that you want. He said, the title of your book is wrong. He said, that's great. We've just printed 5,000. Not suggesting that he changed it, but he needed to know that the title of his book was getting a reaction from the people he was trying to sell to understand why what I was suggesting to fix it worked. And I think that that's part of having that conversation and having Steve Jobs did small groups of smart people, where you got people from all of the disciplines involved, but you didn't get big groups of people. You didn't have 10 product development people. You didn't have 10 marketing people. You had 1 or 2. And you basically fed information back into the teams, but the decisions were made at that group. So I think it's about a functional change that needs to happen, and it's not going to happen overnight. But I think that by trialing kind of new ways of approaching it, you can demonstrate there's value, and that's then what breeds the willingness to try different ways. In development, I think it's one of those things where PR in particular is key. It's about building relationships. Because if you've got relationships with somebody, you can say, well, I'm working on this. What do you think? Am I on the right track? Do I need to do this? What am I missing? Is this I'm trying to solve this problem. Is this actually a problem that causes you enough pain for you to want to pay money? How much do you want to pay? How much would your boss give you in budget to be able to pay for it? So as you develop the product, I think it's important that you use PR not just for promoting it once it's done, but for actually using the relationships and building the relationships and getting information that helps you to build better products. Because ultimately, once you get a product and you take it out there, if it's the wrong product, there's nothing you can do about it. The best marketing in the world won't help you. BlackBerry's a prime example. I've had a lot of heat online because I've criticised their marketing and PR, and people think I'm criticising the product. Actually, the products, the BlackBerry 10 products, were actually really good products. But they suffered because 1, nobody cared about them when they were launched. 2, they were late. 3, they weren't kind of positioned in a way that the audience wanted to buy them. They were still trying to bridge that gap between consumer and enterprise user, when really they should have abandoned the consumer 5 years ago. They should have developed. They had a huge opportunity with entrepreneurs, I think. They could have given all of the handsets they wrote off, just give them away to accelerators and incubators, get them in the hands of entrepreneurs. Because if you can get somebody hooked then when they're building a business, they'll be hooked for life. But they didn't do that, and so when they launched the product, it was like, well, we're not quite sure what the value is, how we use it. Had they've actually spoken to enterprise guys, they would have probably have developed a slightly different product, but they then could have marketed it specifically to that audience and used the relationships that they had, find key people in that community that would have been the advocates for the product when they launched it. I think, click through those. In terms of public relations, marketing and publicity, as this gentleman said, 4 things that really count. It's the right audience, the right message, the right time, and the right delivery channel. They're the only things that matter once you've got a product. When you're launching something, you need to get those 4 things right, and you've got a much greater chance of actually getting a successful product launch, because you know who the audience is, you've built the relationships, you've got people that will be able to advocate on your behalf, You've got information from people in terms of what you develop, but you've also been able to do dummy trials, and people don't do this often enough, is actually test the launch. They make a big fanfare when they think, you know, they have something to launch, but it's all about them trying to sell something at that point. It's not actually about, you know, figuring out whether what they're saying or doing is the right thing. And a lot of it is, you know, because they don't know the audience.
What was it? Sorry, before?
I'll go back. It's a long time since I've used the mouse. So it's the right audience, the right message, the right time, and the right delivery channel.